Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Mendon and Uxbridge this Easter morning. May we pause for a moment listening to music of the prelude. May we begin our time together the words of Diego Valeri. You who have an eye for miracles, regard the bud now appearing on the bare branch of the fragile young tree. It's a mere dot, a nothing, but already it's a flower, already it's a fruit, already it's its own death and resurrection. It is our custom as we gather to kindle a flame in our midst, a flame long the symbol of the presence of the holy, a flame, the symbol of knowledge and of wisdom. We kindle the flame in a chalice, a shared cup, where we come together each week, seeking to be in community, seeking to find in ourselves and in our compatriots a way to make of our lives and the lives in this world a better place. I invite us, those of you who would know the words, to join in our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. As we begin our time together, it is our custom to pause for a moment sharing those milestones, those joys, those sorrows which fill us today. And if we are so moved, lighting a candle and sharing with those here gathered our joys, our sorrows, our milestones.
course, the blues or the theme from Backstreet?
I invite you to send in your joys and sorrows, and we will read them as they have arrived. The story I've chosen for this morning is one out of a collection of stories and is entitled How the Bamboo Became a Flute. The bamboo stood tall and straight. She stood there with the other bamboos in the plantation on the island of Java in Indonesia. She was a good 15 feet in height and about 2 inches thick. Each morning, when the owner of the plantation walked by, she seemed to bow her head in honor and in respect. Then one morning, the owner stopped in front of Bamboo and said, Bamboo, Bamboo, the time has come for me to cut you down. At this, it seemed that Bamboo trembled. The owner then explained, if I do not cut you down, you cannot serve me. 2 days later, after Bamboo had been cut down and left lying on the ground, the owner came by, stopped in front of her, and said, Bamboo, Bamboo, the time has come to strip you of your shoots and cut you into 3-foot lengths. At this, the bamboo seemed to shiver in the cold morning air. The owner went on to explain, unless I strip you of your shoots and cut you into 3-foot lengths, you cannot serve me. A few days later, the owner came by again and stopped in front of Bamboo and said, Bamboo, the time has come to send you to the workshop, where you will have to share your entire pith, having it removed and holes bored into you and your ends shaped. But by this, Bamboo seemed to quake. The owner went on to explain, unless you are taken into the workshop and there fashioned and shaped, you cannot serve me. Many days later, the owner visited the workshop with a young girl. They stopped by Bamboo, all shaped, hollowed out, with holes cut down the front of her. The owner invited the young girl to pick her up. The young girl did so, and placing one end of the hollowed bamboo into her mouth, she blew through her. A beautiful sound. A beautiful sound came flowing out. The owner smiled and said to the young girl, that was exquisite. A bamboo makes a marvelous flute.
This will be just the way it went.
Decision to live. Well, here it is, Easter Sunday, the end of Holy Week for the Christian Church. Holy Week began last Sunday, remembering Jesus' triumphant entrance into Jerusalem, with the common people strewing the path ahead of him with palms to honor him. What happened in that next week? Jesus went into the temple. By his actions spoke volumes about the fact that religion should be about honoring faith, about living a life that is whole and holy, not a thing to profit by. He overturned the tables of the money changers who were charging large fees to take the common money of the time and convert it to holy money. His actions spoke volumes about honoring faith and not profiting by it. He celebrated the Passover Seder with his disciples, was betrayed by one of his closest followers, who was arrested, interrogated, tried, convicted, and executed. His crucifixion took place on Friday. But while the Sabbath is on Saturday, it actually begins at sundown on Friday. And so it was difficult, after he died in the late afternoon, to get him into a tomb before the Sabbath began. One of his followers, a wealthy man who had recently built a tomb for himself nearby, talked to the soldiers and received his body and hurried to place it into his own tomb and rolled a large stone close to the entrance. If it was just before sunset, it was before the Sabbath began. But there were rituals which needed to be performed, should have been performed before he was taken into the tomb. There was not time for that. And the Sabbath, on the next day, there was no way of doing those rituals. And so it became Sunday morning. And those women who were to perform the rituals, Mary, Jesus' mother, and Mary Magdalene, and in some of the Gospels, other women, went to the tomb to do those necessary things. They were worried. How would they move that large stone blocking the entrance? They would find a way, must find a way. In each of the Gospels, the women arrive at the tomb, but do not find Jesus' body within it. In most of the Gospels, they are told to return to the men and to tell them that Jesus will meet them on the way to Galilee. In the Gospel of John, Mary returns to the tomb and finds Jesus there, but does not recognize him. He identifies himself to her and tells her that he will meet his followers in Galilee. When a man joins a group of those followers walking and talking about what had happened the Friday before, they don't recognize him but seem to go on with their conversation. Finally, they ask who he is and realize that it is Jesus, but they don't recognize him. Somehow or another, he was different. When they got to Galilee, most of the disciples were with Jesus, but Thomas arrived late, and he, unlike the others, was not willing to accept this strange person, strange looking, not Jesus, obviously, as Jesus, until he put his finger in the holes in Jesus' hands, his hand into the cut in Jesus' side. Now, I think that when most people think of resurrection, they think of a person dying and sometime later coming back to life. The same person, the same looks, they talk the same. It's the same person, but resurrected. Is that reasonable, though? Are you the person that you were when you were 5 years old? The same person as you were at 20 or 30? For some of us, 50 or 60 or perhaps even 80 or 90. Oh, perhaps we can look back and remember ourselves in those former years. But we're certainly not the same person. It's not even reasonable to expect that a resurrected person would be the same as the person before resurrection. So here we are. It's Easter Sunday, and we should be talking about death and resurrection. Somehow at this time of isolation, at this time of an impossible disease, it doesn't seem possible to talk about resurrection. We're living in a time of far too much death, but not nearly enough resurrection. As of yesterday afternoon, there were 686 deaths due to the coronavirus in Massachusetts, with over 22,000 in the United States and nearly 110,000 worldwide. People are dying. People are dying in almost unimaginable numbers. How can we think of resurrection at a time like that? And really, it's more than the deaths of all of those people, for it's not just people who are dying. It's our culture, our society. At a time like this, we should be gathering together. We should be hugging each other, holding each other close. And yet, that simple idea of how we would or should comfort one another is a risk of causing us death. We can't do the things that we would normally do. Oh, in the past years, we've gotten to use our cell phones and and the internet in ways that a generation or two ago would have been unimaginable. We've already seen two people sitting in a restaurant at a table, each with their cell phone out, texting each other, or in a room where they're the only two people there and they're texting. We live at a time when communication all too often is unconnected to bodies and unconnected to talking voices. Perhaps it will let us get through this time more easily. But it's also a way that is isolating, that removes those things which are most helpful when we are in stress, the presence of those we love, the presence of those we work with and talk with. And things are changing in our society, and we're often not even aware of them. Why is it? Why is it that Black people are 5 times more likely to die of the virus than whites? Is it because of the social isolation that they have, the poverty that is more common? Why is it that in the past we have dealt so kindly with the top 1% of our population, while the rest have been ignored? Now we're trying a little bit harder. Now we're giving unemployment to all people who are unemployed. Now we're giving bonuses to those who are in need. Perhaps things are changing. We know that they will. We know that there are going to be thousands and thousands of miracle resurrections in our communities in the next few months or years. Those small resurrections which are happening now, will they grow and be part of our general life? Will it be that every person, whether wealthy or poor, is valued? Whether no person in this great country is hungry because they cannot afford food? Will it be that we will prepare our medical system so that it can serve all people in an emergency? Will we have enough supplies to protect those great women and men who serve at their own risk, helping those who are ill, helping those who, because of this great disease, are forced into conditions that they would never have imagined in better days? Will these resurrections that will happen result in a kinder, more gentle, more grateful community? Or when this disease has passed us, will we go back to our old ways? We have been allowed to know that while the wealthy are often well treated, those who are less wealthy can also be well treated. We can give billions of dollars to large corporations, but we can also give millions, perhaps billions, to poor individuals. This is a time of choices. This is a time when we decide how our society is going to work, how we are going to get back together, Will this time of being apart call us more to communicate by text? Will it call us, but by this time cause us to find ways of entertaining ourselves, of being okay with being isolated? I'm glad for this much opportunity to be in your lives as you watch the broadcast. I would much rather be in the same room with you. But we have heard that after this is over, no man will ever shake another man's hand. Never touch another person. I'd like to shake your hand. I'd like to give you a hug. I'd like to be in a good communicating relationship with each of you. Not with a few scattered words on a cell phone screen. Not with a few words on a television news program. Not even with a virtual service. Let's make sure that in addition to the isolation, the washing of hands, the wearing of masks, we prepare for a society where all people are valued, a society where we communicate with one another, where we show our love and our respect for each other by being present, by being there for each other in times of difficulty. We have choices to make. This pandemic will end, but what will we have learned? Will we have learned to not trust, to not want to be near people because they might infect us with something? Or will we have learned that we are all people, that all of us have potentials for good, that all of us are necessary to each other? Will the resurrection bring about a renaissance, a time when all people are valued, a time when all people are respected, a time when we work to be ready for difficult times so that no one needs to suffer? Today is a time for decisions. Let us make the decision to live, not the decision to die in solitude, isolated from other people. May we make the decision to live.
Last meeting,
We usually begin our service with sharing of joys and sorrows. Looks like today we will end it. I light a candle from Leslie Cake. Please light a candle for my wishes of peace and health for everyone. From the Carsons, thank you all for this community. We are so glad you are all here, including those who can't join the stream. And from the Bouchards, a candle of thanks for Ralph, Matt, and the Carsons for being there so we could be here. Also, light a candle for those members who miss you as often as we would like. May we hold them in our hearts and in our minds. May we keep in touch. May we keep in touch with more people than usual, for at this time, more people need our love, our caring, our kind words, notes, phone calls. Make them and keep us all in touch. And finally, the candle for those members of the community who are serving, the police, the nurses, the doctors, the EMTs, all of those people who are willingly putting their lives and health at risk to make sure that all of us are safer. I guess I should also mention the grocery workers who come in and get much closer to us than they probably would like, so that we can eat, so that our lives can be at least a little bit more usual. And another announcement that I should have made at the beginning: the expenses of the church do continue whether or not we are having regular services. We now have a page in our web page that allows you to make donations to the church using your credit card or PayPal. Please check that out, and if you are able to donate, please do so. We can also accept checks or other financial contributions. And now we kindle this flame as we gather, and as we leave, we extinguish it. May the flame burn on in our hearts and minds, calling us always to be our best selves, calling us always to share caring and love with those around us, and even those who we do not know personally, who give us great gifts of their labor, their time, and their sacrifice.